Hello and welcome to another This is the Music Meets podcast. I'm delighted to be joined by the lead guitarist of indie powerhouse The Publics, who are based in Mansfield in Nottingham. The five-piece have recently released their latest single, Marathon in Hills, which has gone down a storm with fans and critics alike, and seen the band hit over 2,500 streams on Spotify since it was released. Elliot, thanks very much for coming on the This is the Music Meets podcast today. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm amazing. Like I say, we haven't done a podcast in ages, so it's nice to talk. We did one just before the single released, so now it's been out and people have heard it. It's quite nice to come and talk about it, really. Yeah.
Fantastic. It looks like you're in the like the rehearsal space there. Is that in preparation for the gigs at the weekend?
Yeah, we've done one gig this year, sort of a warm up for things. That was in Mansfield. It's actually the first time we played, but that was in January. So we haven't been together, all of us, in ages. And we've just bought a keyboard. So our keyboard player finally has a keyboard, which is very helpful. So yeah, we've been in here all day really, just churning songs out, getting new stuff ready. So yeah, come Friday, Saturday, hopefully we're all good.
Fantastic. Sounds amazing that what you're all up to at the moment. So just before we sort of get on to the new single and the gigs and everything. So obviously, as you know, here at This Is the Music, we like to champion new bands and solo artists, obviously like the Publics. Is there anybody at the moment that's been catching your eye or someone else in the band at the moment?
So massive or quite small artists, what would you rather?
Yeah, kind of like the new artists, really. But obviously, if there are bigger bands that are more established bands, maybe that have caught your eye, then yeah, go for it.
Established bands, the ones we're listening to at the minute, because we're quite close to Sheffield. Reverend and Makers are like they're our dream band to kind of play with. They're up there. But newer bands, there's a group from Chesterfield called Mimosa. We've taken them with us to Nottingham. They're coming with us to Newcastle, so got to give them a shout out. And yeah, we've got a few of us joining us. I think Motherland in Newcastle, and then Jungleland, which is confusing, in Nottingham. So yeah, we haven't really had many supports with us in the past. This is our first set of proper headlines, so it'll be good to meet people and go from there. Really.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds very exciting for you guys, and I'm a like yourself, massive fan of Reverend and the Makers. A fantastic band, especially when they're at the festivals as well. They always feel that's the start of the festival when they do their sort of early afternoon, late evening, early evening slot even, and Mimosa as well. I'm a massive fan of them. So yeah, great couple of great bands and a great way to start the show. So obviously, we said there in the intro, obviously the Publics are a five-piece. So obviously, can you let the listeners know who the other band members are, and obviously your own role, but also as well what their roles are as well?
Yeah, so it's not always been the case. We've had a few lineups over the years, but we never really had, we had commitments and stuff, but it was never kind of grounded. So over lockdown, we lost a couple of people, and it was just myself and Josh, who's the front man. And he met our bass player, Ewan, through university. And then as our last resort to find a drummer and get us together, we messaged our old guitar teacher, and he found us this lad, James, who we used to play with. And since the two of them have come in, they've been incredible. So we had a ground there. And then over lockdown, we wanted to record a new single, and I just really wanted some female vocals. And when we were back in college, so when we were 18, we were teaching music to some younger students. And one of my sister's friends, Ebony, was in that group. And at the time, she was really young. And obviously, knowing her through my sister, I got her in to just do some vocals. And the producer was like, "You've got to sign her," type thing. So she's been with us now. She's just turned 16, so a year already. But yeah, it's been incredible. Obviously, having someone that young come in with new members, they've all took her in great type thing. It's a bit of a weird dynamic having four older lads, you'd imagine in a band, and then this 15-year-old girl, but she's took to it incredibly. And yeah, it's gelled really well.
Fantastic, and it's a very, really sort of interesting backstory there as well. How you know how you all came together, but obviously I think you can hear already on that on Marathon in Hills in particular, obviously that how tight knitted obviously you've got together in such a like a short space of time. So out of and I'll ask for on the other, really more aimed at the other four members of the band. Which one would you say is like the practical joker, the one person that everyone else is constantly wondering what their next trick or what they're going to get up to next?
James is without a doubt wins that. When he joined, he just turned 18, and obviously being in lockdown, he was at the age when he could start to do stuff and go out, but he'd never had that. And obviously myself, Ewan and Josh being older, coming out with us, it's just been, he's always like a few steps behind. But things like he came to us, I think it was the second practice, and he was like, I've signed up for team first dates because I thought it would be funny. So he's been on national TV. Just honestly, I could not tell you what he's going to do next. Like, he's crazy. More of a laugh at him than a laugh with him person, but it's been amazing for us. And everybody, even though he's the drummer and he hides at the back on these small stages, he's the one getting recognised and people come up to him. Massive long curly hair. He stands out. So yeah, I'd say him.
Can't miss him, and we'll come on to that the first dates a little bit in a little while later on. So one of the things I've been quite curious about is how did you get the name, the Publics?
So it's kind of a bit weird actually. So myself and Josh started the band at school with a couple of other people, and we actually went to private school. So this type of music at the time wasn't, the norm there. Yeah. And Josh played in lots of music because he had a scholarship and stuff. So he was always in and around. But I just liked music and wanted to play the stuff I liked. Yeah. And when we started, it was quite hard to kind of practice at school. Not that they weren't supportive, but because there was nothing there for it. Yeah. And when we came to a name, we just didn't know. Like, we wanted the name to be about us. So someone went, "Why don't you have the Privates?" And I thought, that sounds terrible. I didn't want it to be like obvious. But obviously it's technically public school. So we went from there because it's a bit weird. Most people in like this scene are kind of, they play together because they know each other from the streets and things like that. They live locally. That wasn't the case with us. And yeah, so it's just from that really.
I really like that. That's a pretty well. It's a very catchy name, I think. Anyway, it stands out, and a great little backstory there as well to how you got there. So obviously the new single, Marathon in Hills, as we mentioned earlier, with the 2,500 streams on Spotify, and it was a former This Is the Music song of the day as well. It's a fantastic song, and if you haven't heard it yet, then once you've got to the end of this podcast, I highly recommend you go and put that on. So what was like the inspiration then behind the track?
So how we kind of write the songs is I'll sit there with an acoustic and just play around with just some basic chords and then the lyrics. And once I've got some lyrics I think are good enough, it kind of goes to Josh first, and he can play kind of every instrument. It's just unbelievable. So he gets his head around it, and then it goes to the rest of the band. Right. But the way this one started was basically I got COVID, so I started talking, just playing around with this idea of what I was doing, before I was locked in my bedroom, and just this idea of someone walking home in heels just had a nice ring to it. Yeah. So once I've got my main line and what I know is quite quirky, the whole thing just kind of goes around that. It was more, rather than the lyrics being the focus, I just knew I wanted a song that had keyboard, because having Ebony, who's amazing, she's just been backing vocals. I was like, we need to use what she's got. Yeah. So adding those synth parts and making it a bit more dancey. I thought then when we released our first single as the 5-piece, it would be distinct and people would know, wow, they've changed. So that was the focus. Just make a statement this is a new band, not this is someone carrying on trying to drag something out that's already dead, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when people go back and obviously listen, and we'll come on to some of the other songs in a little while, but I think you can definitely hear that you have sort of tried to progress, but it is it's a new like a new band in essence, but you are all very tight, and it sounds like you've been playing together for quite a while. If hopefully that makes some sort of sense.
We didn't want to change the formula too much, because we thought, we've got something going. We just wanted to add to it, and I think we kind of, hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more, to be honest. And you mentioned the synths in the song, and I really like that. Just keeps you sort of guessing as to what's coming next, but sort of gives the song a sort of a unique feel about it as well. Rather than just your sort of standard guitar, drums, bass, vocal type thing. So yeah, great stuff. So obviously you've just mentioned quite a little bit there. You've released 5 singles to date, plus 1 EP, which was back in 2019. That seems ages ago now, doesn't it? Which was called First Impressions. Have you got a personal favourite from what's been released to date?
I know it's a classic answer that everyone gives, but I've kind of got favourites for different things. I think personally, my favourite that I've written is Rose, just because I think the lyrics, they're very dark in the sense, but it was kind of a good message. So I think that's the one I'm most proud of for that sense. Like you say, Art of War, again, is just, I think the music really stepped up on that one. So that was was bridging the gap. And then Marathon and Heels, obviously, we played that before we released it, and we just knew, I really liked it. I think we used all of our strengths really well in that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love them all. They've all got a soft spot, but yeah, they'd be my 3 favourites really.
Brilliant stuff. So is there one, probably you kind of answered it, but is there one that maybe you think is going to go down like really well, like live, or maybe a bit better live than some of the others?
It always surprises us, because when we play live, the ones that don't necessarily get as many streams get more from the crowd, which is really strange to us. Because obviously, Was That Kiss Meant to Me, when you play that out the speakers and just on Spotify and things, it's catchy, it gets your attention.
Yeah.
But when we play Knight in Shining Armour live, it's more soft, it's more Beatles-esque, but everybody sings it back. It's one of those songs that even if you're not enjoying it, it annoys you so much that you join in. So it always means we fill the room with it. It's kind of a secret weapon in that sense. Even if you don't like it, you'll go home and you'll be singing it after seeing us. So yeah, that one live is quite special at the end.
Fantastic. And it must be a massive buzz when you're up there on the stage and you've got not just that song, but any song, I guess, for that matter. It's like singing it back, like even just a chorus or whatever it may be. Must be a massive buzz for you and for you and the rest of the band.
It's always scary, especially in the night, because we get to the end of the song and we hope that if we cut out, people will sing back. Luckily, we've never had it when nobody has. It's always nervy, but yeah, when people, like you say, sing the lyrics back, it feels weird in a way. So obviously, I can imagine people listening to it, and when we sing it to each other, it's normal. But when it's people you've never seen before, they're not like your friends or anything, they've just come because they've heard your music. It's a weird feeling, even if it's just 2 people, never mind, hundreds or whatever.
Yeah, sure. So you've obviously before we started, you mentioned that obviously you guys have been in the rehearsal space today, obviously getting ready for the gigs at the weekend. You're obviously playing Network in Sheffield and Head of Steam, aren't you, up in Newcastle? And then looking a little bit further ahead, you're obviously playing at Rough Trade as well in May in Nottingham, and you've obviously got some gigs as well in Stoke and Sheffield as well in July. So what's the mood like in the public's camp ahead of those gigs?
We were very nervous for the first 3 we've got coming up, mainly because I'm in my final year at uni. Evan is doing GCSEs. There's kind of a lot coming these next couple of months. Yeah. And it was a case of, have we got as much time as we thought? But yeah, after today, I think there's just been a real buzz.
Yeah.
I've been showing everyone the stuff that me and Josh have had for a while, waiting to bring the full band into, and they took to it within like an hour or so. So we're excited because we're going to play new songs. That's always fun. But yeah, we've not really had much since the end of last year. We had a big headline in September, but again, people didn't really understand because we've not brought, music out, that it was a new band. So I think what's exciting is people have realised, oh, these have sorted it out and it's different. So I think the people coming will be expecting a lot more, which again brings a bit more nerves to it.
Yeah, sure, definitely. So, I mean, obviously, out of it must be difficult probably to pick maybe one gig, but are there any in particular that maybe mean a little bit more to you? I mean, I'm guessing obviously you guys from being in the Nottingham region that playing at Rough Trade must be one that stands out.
It's kind of a bit weird actually, because although we're a Nottingham band, none of us actually live sort of central Nottingham. So
right,
we think people from all over the place. Like we ourselves are from Mansfield, which obviously it's 30 minutes from Nottingham. We just class as that from postcodes and stuff. But
yeah.
So Newcastle, Josh and Ewan go to uni there. So again, excited for that because hopefully lots of students and lots of people we know going. Nottingham's always good because our family and people will come. But again, we're as close to Nottingham as Sheffield. And then personally for me, being from Stoke-on-Trent, that's the one I've been like knocking on the door for ages. I've been wanting to get out there. So I think they're nervous, but I'm excited for that one.
Fantastic. Sounds a very busy time. And for people that haven't, so I mean, maybe it might be difficult for you to answer this, as it's going to be sort of one of the first sort of run of gigs that you've done really as the new 5-piece. But for people that haven't managed, like myself, that haven't obviously managed to catch you live yet, what are they going to expect from a live gig?
My philosophy that I've pitched to everyone since day one is, even if we're on the world's smallest stage and we don't fit, I want us to play like it's our final night at Wembley. And I think they've took to that pretty well. We kind of start the set with really heavy get your attention songs.
Yeah.
And as it goes on, I'm a massive fan of Catfish and the Bottlemen. So since day one, I've been grounding in. I want atmosphere. I want lots of layers.
Yeah.
But do that, and to do that effectively, you've got to catch your audience. So yeah, we kind of want to tell a story with how the set goes. So like I say, it starts fast, heavy. By the end, hopefully, everyone will be singing along with us.
Brilliant. Sounds like a great night. And I think when you make it down south in the London Essex region, I'm definitely going to jump on board and come down and experience one of your gigs. It sounds a great night to me.
Yeah, we want to get down south. We really want to do London because we've got a few friends and family just around there, and everything we've done so far has been like up north. Yeah, this is the first set that we're moving out of Nottingham. So hopefully if these go well, we're looking at Manchester, and then obviously further south, like you say, London and places like that. That's the next step. But yeah, we've got to get these ones right first.
Brilliant. Sounds a very, very great plan that you've got there. So how do you personally prefer to listen to music? Are you, do you like the physical copies, like vinyl or CD, or are you more of a, sort of streamer or downloader?
I do collect vinyls and have vinyls, but I'm a definitely stream first person. When new albums come out, I'm not one of these who just picks a few songs. I have to listen to it top to bottom. Yeah. And then if I do really like it, I'll then get the vinyl. But yeah, my problem is when I listen to stuff, I do pick up things that I would be when I'm playing. But luckily, unlike Josh, I don't really have that much music knowledge. So I'm just listening for things I like. And I try not to be too critical. I'm trying to just enjoy it the first time. And then we nick bits and use that for ourselves. Is kind of, that's always what you've got to look out for. Which bit can I rip off and put into a song? That sounds cool. We'll use that. So you've got to think about that, I guess.
Love that. That's brilliant. I mean, and what about obviously at the moment your releases have obviously been streaming and download. Would that eventually be something that you'd like to make, you know, like the route you'd like to go down, maybe getting a vinyl or a CD release out, or are you just quite happy for it to stay on, you know, sort of like almost like, I guess, ease of access, I guess, in one way?
Vinyls are definitely an end goal. We want to get there, but we want to make sure that what we're putting on the vinyl, we think deserves, you know, a place on someone's shelf. It deserves to be on vinyl, and we're working towards something that will hopefully be there. But for now, you know, streaming has its ups and downs, like everything. Obviously, we can reach everyone anywhere in the world. Obviously, like you say, the downside, so can everybody else, and it doesn't really, you know, pay that well.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not always been a problem to us. We are looking at CDs now. I just think it would be nice to, you know, if you do come and you enjoy the gig, we can at least, you know, hand something out with the good songs we've got so far on. And then I think when we then move to vinyls for something, we'll be able to see the progression.
Yeah, sure, definitely. Sounds great. So if you had a musical time machine, what era of music would you like to be transported back to?
Again, I think everybody in the band would answer this very differently. James is very old school. He's very Beatles, Pink Floyd. So he'd be hanging around with those type of people.
Yeah.
Josh, again, he's probably a bit newer. He'd probably be like mid 2000s, around Arctic Monkeys.
Yeah.
And that type of sound. And then myself and Ewan, we'd probably be somewhere between the 80s, 90s. So kind of like 80s pop, synth music, and the 90s dance starting. But then obviously also Oasis and people like that. I think that was just a really good time with a lot of variety. And so yeah, it'd all be different, but that's good for when we come to writing songs. Like you say, everyone pinches things, but we're pinching things from all different eras, all different genres. And when you then mix that together, I think it's good, and it doesn't just mean we copied a certain band or a certain song.
Yeah, sure. Sounds like a great mix, and totally get as well where you're coming from there with that. So, if you were putting on a musical festival, which 5 bands would you be looking to add to the bill?
Again, if everyone else was in the room, this would be a riot. Everyone would be throwing. I'll have to say this is my 5 and not the band's, because if not, they'll have my head on a stake.
Yeah.
Are we allowed forever time, or has it got to be current? Oh, okay.
Yeah, just whoever you want. It doesn't matter.
I think it's criminal if I don't pick the Beatles. So they're up there. Again, Catfish and the Bottlemen have just been everything from learning to write music. So they're on the bill. Reverend and the Makers, again, they're our dream support slot. We just think the dynamic, the energy, they're on there. Then I'm assuming you'll come to this, but the Ratons, they've done, it's something so little, but it's done so much for us.
Mm-hmm.
And we've listened to them since they started. So they're definitely on there. And then I don't really know for the 5th and final slot. Obviously, Arctic Monkeys is an obvious answer. But I think since Ebony's been in the band, people like Wolf Alice, you know, kind of showing her that you can be a girl in this genre, it's not different. And she's been using Rev and Wolf Alice and then combining that with people she knows like Olivia Rodrigo. So I'd put them in because I just think they're amazing at what they do.
Yeah, absolutely. 5 fantastic choices there, and I think that would make a great festival fantasy lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who you sort of with the last answer there that you've given, you've sort of hinted a little bit at the answer to this next question, but who are your musical inspirations, and why would that be?
Again, for me personally, coming from like a songwriting point of view, so just like lyrics and chords. So Van McCann, Catfish and the Bottlemen, and then the Killers, they're kind of my 2 who are mixed together, because I just think the 2 bands are just incredible at telling a story through a song and energy. And I can't wait to see the Killers live. I think they're just really good at getting their point across, but in a quirky way. They're not just very generic with their words. And yeah, they're my two biggest, I'd say.
Brilliant, great, brilliant choices. Can't disagree there with what you've said about either of the two bands. Brilliant bands. So can you remember what the first album or single that you purchased and why?
The first vinyl I purchased was "Live for the Moment" by the Sherlocks. So I remember I'd had a few guitar lessons at school, and I always wanted to play guitar, like Back to the Future, Johnny Be Good. That was the kind of thing that got me into it. But when I first started, it was kind of, and I don't say this with disrespect to people like the Sherlocks, it was all really hard stuff. And I remember seeing them on Soft AM and going to a gig and just watching them. And obviously, it sounds incredible. And there's a lot that goes into it. But a few of the things, the riffs are just kind of a few notes. And I remember just sitting there and going, I could probably do that. So I remember buying the album, and that's kind of also what made me want to join a band. It was, you don't necessarily need to do lots of fancy stuff. You just need to do simple, effective. And then as I've grown from kind of a 16-year-old who can play 4 notes, that album has stayed with me.
Yeah.
So even now, when obviously I've got a lot better and I've been playing with other people and I've picked up things from them, I'll still go back to that and keep pinching things, and I probably will when we do more songs in the future.
Yeah, definitely. And are you still listening to the Sherlocks now? And if you are, what did you think of the current release?
The new album is incredible. I think obviously changing the group, I thought that's going to be a bit risky, but I think they've gone in a really good direction with it. And like I say, they were the first kind of band in this genre that I listened to, so they'll always have a soft spot. And if they're listening and want some support for future, we'd jump straight on that.
Definitely shout them out. We'll tag them in the end of the podcast, and hopefully they'll listen out and take it from there. I think they've got a UK tour coming up, haven't they? I think so. You never know. If they haven't announced all the supports yet, get the publics on. That's what I say. So who can you remember as well? Like maybe like the first gig that you ever went to, and where was that?
So I've been to a few in the past with my dad and my family growing up. So Kaiser Chiefs I've been to quite a lot, mainly just people my dad was into. But yeah, again, that album tour, Sherlock's, was the first proper gig to. I kind of went with my friends and on my own.
Yeah.
And then from that, I think it was the DMEs when their second album came out, and we kind of went into everything those couple of years just before the pandemic started in our last year at school. So we were at Rock City every other week, and you actually learn a lot just watching people live, not just listening to the music. So yeah,
definitely. So we've got a couple of quick fire questions for you now.
Okay.
Beatles or Stones?
Beatles.
Favorite TV show?
Stranger Things.
And what about your favorite film?
Back to the Future, the first one though.
Great choice. I'm laughing there. Great choice. And what is your favorite crisp flavour?
Oh, again, these lot are going to absolutely kill me for this, but I go for Flame Ghost Steak, but it's got with McCoy's. It has to be the McCoy's ones.
Very specific. Great choices, all 4 of them there. So, so we did allude to it earlier when you were doing the introductions to the band. I've been dying to ask this question ever since I knew that we'd be chatting tonight. I've got to ask about James's appearance on First Dates. I mean, how did you guys find out? Did he just like randomly walk into a room and just go, "Hey, guess what?" And I mean, I saw on your socials at the time he's been compared to Harry Styles, I think, from some of the viewers of the show. So, I mean, what's his reaction been like to that?
He's literally just gone home, and I'm gutted because
no,
he'd have been a liability for the rest of the podcast. So we met him like last July, end of July, early August time. We kind of got together and started rehearsing and started planning, and it must have been about the 3rd week of knowing him. Obviously, just this 18-year-old lad, just turned 18. And he, out of nowhere in the group chat, he'd not really put much. He was like, "I've got something to tell you." no idea what he's going to say. Is he leaving? Does not fancy it? I'm going on team first dates. So for like a month or so, we knew he was going on it, and he'd been confirmed. We didn't know when. And then I think it was just before Christmas time, he got taken out to Manchester. Everything was filmed, and he came back, and obviously we were dying to know what happened, and he was not. He wasn't too impressed. Yeah, he told us bits, but the episode was just golden. So we all got together here and we watched it together, all of us, and kind of did like a goggle box.
Yeah.
So we didn't let him watch it or sneak preview it before, and oh, it's just amazing. I think he does himself wonders on there. He comes across as like a really top lad, really polite, but you can tell he's so nervous. And yeah, the best bit is obviously the girl who's on there with him. You know, she says she's got a lazy eye, and you know, she's talking about her disability in her life. And James being James, no harm then, just being polite, went, this is my first blind date. And it's just top tier TV. He's just being completely genuine, not meaning any harm, but obviously to the rest of us, it was unbelievable. So yeah, we're now looking at what other TV shows we can sign him up for. Yeah, people are coming up saying, oh, they're saying the same as us. I don't know who said he looks like Harry Styles, but you know, he shouldn't go around telling people that.
I guess he's been milking that as well a little bit.
Yes, he loves it.
Yeah, get him. He must be trying to push his way to the front on the band photo shoots as well.
Oh, honestly, it's gone to his head. I think it's done amazing for him. I remember I put it on TikTok, so I knew we had something, and we went to bed with it on 800 views. We woke up and he comes to me with his phone. I've never seen so many notifications. I think we had something like 100,000 streams overnight, like views overnight, and I'd tagged him in the comments. So people had found his Instagram and he was getting messages. So obviously, this little 18-year-old lad getting people messaging him, oh, it was horrendous. It had all gone to his head.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Brilliant. Love that. Absolutely love it. Great story. And you know, when you know, maybe that'll be a good story to tell to the you know, to the national press in a few years' time. Well, maybe even sooner than that. But that'd be fantastic. Hopefully. Yeah, definitely. So obviously we've mentioned the gigs coming up obviously at the weekend, and there's a few more May and July and stuff. But and obviously it's going to clearly be a very, very busy time for you guys. But what other than that, what's next for the Publics?
New music. We're desperate to get out. So the studio we use, like, massive shout out to Simon and Jared at Electric Bear in Mansfield. They've over the last month completely ripped the whole thing to the ground, built it back, and we've not been able to go in and have a peek at it yet, but on Instagram I think it looks incredible. Like I say, we're really busy with exams and, you know, boring down to earth stuff for now, but as soon as we've got free time, we just plan on all summer just being in there, getting things done, because, you know, the reception we've had to the new singles has been amazing. So we don't want to be forgotten. We want to just keep pushing and, you know, knocking on the door of people. So yeah, that's the main thing really, just music, get it out and then see what comes from it really.
Brilliant. And I agree wholeheartedly there. I think the reaction has been brilliant to Marathon in Hills. Unfortunately, Elliot, that is the end of the podcast. Thanks very much for coming on today. I've had a great time, and I hope that you have as well. But just before you do go, can you let the listeners know where they can find you on social media?
Yeah, so Instagram and Facebook, it's just at the Publics Official. Twitter, we are rubbish on, but follow us anyway. I think Twitter and TikTok are the same. That's at the Publics Band. And then yeah, Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, all of that. And then, like you say, hopefully some, you know, CDs and vinyls soon. Brilliant,
fantastic stuff. And we'll include those social media links in the episode bio, as well, as long with the I think there's still some limited tickets available for the shows at the weekend.
Yeah, Sheffield Friday, Newcastle Saturday. There's a few left for the two of them, and then hopefully we can ram Nottingham out and sell that out in May.
Brilliant, fantastic, and we'll include the gig links as well in that bio. The Public's latest single, Marathon in Hills, is out now on all streaming and download platforms. And as I say, it's a fantastic song, and I really recommend that you check that one out. But also as well the previous songs as well that we've mentioned a little bit on today's podcast. Thanks to everyone who has tuned in to the latest This Is The Music Meets podcast. Don't forget to hit subscribe and receive the latest podcasts straight to your inbox. Elliot, thanks again for coming on, and I hope to see you and the band somewhere down the road, hopefully at a live gig very, very soon.
No, thank you very much. Like I say, if you want, to ask any more questions, I'd love to come back on. And hopefully we can bring James and the rest of them next time. I'll try and make sure they're well behaved for you.
Brilliant. Well, I look forward to it, and I'm sure somewhere down the road we will get that sorted out. Another podcast with you guys all on. Brilliant.
Amazing. Thank you very much.